diving into our guests on today's edition of The Big Factor. I get to welcome in Greg Oden, former #1 overall pick in the 2007 NBA draft, two-time Gatorade National Player of the Year and Ohio State legend. Greg Oden has partnered with Lucky Energy for a new campaign called What Are the Odds, which highlights resilience and overcoming life setback that is perfectly in line with Greg's journey from being the #1 NBA draft pick to dealing with career-altering injuries, earning a master's degree, finding a new purpose after basketball. Greg, welcome to The Big Factor. Tell us about your new campaign with Lucky Energy, and tell us, it really leans into your personal story of perseverance. What drew you to this collaboration, and how does the campaign reflect where you are right now in your life?
I mean, you basically said it all. First, I want to say thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. But, the partnership with Lucky is just everything that they do. Their goal to inspire people through energy, entertainment, and just not giving up on any setbacks that you got. I really think that aligns with me, and I really appreciate Lucky for giving me this opportunity, with this campaign. It's really centered around my story and everything that I'm going through. And, challenges may come, but life continues. So I really appreciate Lucky for this. And thank you guys again for having me.
Okay, Greg, to stick with that theme a little bit, again, thank you for coming on. You've spoken about perseverance and challenges in your career, and one of those things you've opened up with since you've retired is mental health. And I kind of wanted to know, what would be some advice you would give top picks like Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, who are going to have to deal with a lot of pressure and mental obstacles going to the NBA and having a lot of people relying on them?
Honestly, to worry about yourself. Don't worry about what everybody else has to say. All you can do is try your best, be coachable, enjoy this journey, and, have fun. It's going to be a lot of people wanting a lot from you. But if you do those things, I promise you'll feel better on the other side going through it.
Greg, I wanted to ask you about Cooper Flagg, obviously the #1 overall pick to the Dallas Mavericks. I think the NBA world got to have a lot of fun with the Mavericks when they received the #1 overall pick in the draft lottery. What do you make out of that fit from a basketball lens for Cooper Flagg heading on to Dallas?
I mean, he was already put in the starting five before he was even drafted, as soon as they got the pick. But, he's a great talent. So he's still going to have to work for it. He's still going to have to prove himself. He has a great coach. He has great players around him. I wish him nothing but the best. But I think if it works out, it's going to be a good thing. Everybody, who saw the trade, that first game with AD and Kyrie, you can tell that the Dallas Mavericks was going to be a scary team. So, to have Clay, to have Gafford, and then to add a talent like Cooper Flagg and give him freedom to grow with those four around him, I think they're going to be a scary team if everybody's healthy.
So, Greg, here in Cleveland, we got a lot going on with our big guys right now. We got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. There's a lot of talk about what we should do with these guys, move Evan Mobley to center, trade Jared Allen. People have all the thoughts in the world on Cleveland's bigs. What do you think we should do here in Cleveland with the two big guys?
Well, the fact that you guys were the #1 in the East, you probably should keep them both and just plan on growing from there. I know it was disappointing losing to the Pacers, but I'm a Cavs fan because I live in Columbus. So,
Okay.
I think that team is amazing. I just think that, they just needed another year, as, the playoffs showed. And I think they grow together and build together. I think they'll be really good.
Greg, what'd you make out of some of that conversation then that they, could have been in some trade talks? Darius Garland for Kevin Durant obviously was in your draft class. What'd you make out of some of those reports for our Cavs up here?
First off, I never heard that conversation at all. Is that a even liable trade? But as we know now, he's on his way to Houston. So I made nothing of it because I didn't hear it. I ain't even possible conversation.
Greg, I also want to ask, there's been a huge revolution in the NBA with big men shooting and three-pointers and stretching the floor and getting more into being skilled. You were a very skilled big yourself, but you came from that era where it was more dominating in the inside and the low post. A lot of the centers we saw taken yesterday in the draft aren't really known for their outside shooting. Do you think there could be a little bit of a balancing out in the NBA where it's not all about the big men shooting threes?
Yes, I think the playoffs this year has showed that, having a big, the Mitchell Robinsons, the Isaiah Hartensteins, having a big that can come in and rebound and just dominate that aspect, who can play defense, who can guard multiple players and protect the rim. I think that's something that's going to come back to, especially with a lot of these kids getting drafted this year. Teams need that. You need somebody that doesn't just want to stand out, at the 3-point line and not go inside and do the dirty work. So I think that's something that's going to come back, and I really do appreciate seeing that.
So, Greg, if you were crafting the perfect third for a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, I feel like you kind of have to take Mike Conley along with you for this basketball journey you're going on. But who's the wing you would take?
Daquan Cook, of course. All my boys that I grew up playing with, that's the three I would definitely ride with all the time.
That's a ton of fun. Greg, obviously it was a big deal to you personally and professionally after your playing career when you returned to The Ohio State to finish your degree. Talk our fans through what went into that decision and what it finally felt like to be able to walk the stage and complete your degree in the sports industry.
Well, to be honest, it was kind of the fact that when I retired, I really didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. My whole entire life was built around me playing basketball. So, retiring and trying to figure out who I was, the one thing I did know is I wanted to go back and get my degree. So, me going back to the Ohio State University kind of gave me a little bit of direction. And I kind of figured out, I enjoy the mentorship. I enjoy being around the players. I enjoy coaching some of these players, and ended up getting my degree in sports coaching. And yeah, I just really appreciate the Ohio State University for that, in Columbus, Ohio, for just giving me direction, helping me figure out who I was in that process.
Greg, speaking of the Ohio State, I actually have an interesting question. For you, they've struggled with Michigan the past couple of years. I don't know when the last time they've won a game was. Personally, watching them this year, was it more satisfying to see them win that national championship, even though they lost to Michigan, or would you have rather seen them win that rivalry game rather than get the national title?
As much as I hate that we lost to Michigan, I'm definitely going to say it was really good seeing us win the national championship. Can't nobody say nothing now when you're the best in the country. I know we lost to Michigan, but I will say they were the last national champions before us, so I will give them a little bit of respect. But honestly, that natty was something that we needed and something that we're going to cherish, and can't nobody take that away from us. Sometimes the tides turn in that Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. So we'll take the natty because that's always going to be there.
Greg, your journey throughout life and basketball, as well as Lucky Energy, their message that the world will throw things at you that you can't necessarily change. And while you may view them as a negative, sometimes there are outcomes that we can't necessarily see in the present that will set us up for success in the future. How big of a part is that mindset in getting through injuries that are career altering? Just in this past year, we've seen Dame Lillard, we've seen Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton go down with these horrific Achilles injuries. What's your message to those guys, and how important is it to just the power of positive thinking and how far it can go in terms of making something that at one point seemed like, and it might still seem like such a negative thing, but being able to come out stronger on the other side of it?
Well, that's just it. Using some of these negative situations to come out, better and stronger. Take that time that you actually got to sit down to better yourself, work on your mind, work on your body, come back even stronger. You can't control what's going to happen. You can have an idea of what you want in life, but sometimes it just doesn't end up like that. So, use that time and use these negative situations to learn from and be better on the other side.
All right, Greg, we appreciate you hopping on. Again, shout out to Lucky Energy, luckybevco.com. Greg, we'll end it on this one. Do you have a favorite flavor, and tell us what's the best thing about the energy drink?
I think it was Dragonberry. I like those kind of flavors right there. But best thing is, it's not too acidity for me. And honestly, just everything that's behind it. behind the energy drink, the meaning of the energy drink, and you know, it's something that I really love, and I'm so happy to be partnered with. And also, it's not a bad tasting drink. You know, that's one thing you want in the energy drink first and foremost, actually. So.
Hell yeah. I feel like I need one right now. Greg, we appreciate you hopping on the Big Factor. Again, best of luck to you. We'll clap Greg Oden out. Enjoy day 2 of the NBA draft, man. And can't wait to get our hands on some of that lucky beverage. Greg, have a good one, my guy.
Yeah, have a good one. Appreciate y'all for having me.